Welcome back to the workshop of Wood Spun Round. This is Doug. I am so glad to have you with me today as we spin this piece of Brazilian pepperwood. Now, Brazilian pepperwood does not grow here in Kentucky, and the way I came about it was I was watching Walt Wybrew turn some and told him I don't have it. It looked lovely and I'd love to have some to turn, and he and I ended up arranging a swap. I sent him some wood, he sent me a box of wood, and this was part of what he sent me, Brazilian pepperwood. This particular piece was a branch that had a bend in the branch, and right in the elbow of the bend was this big ball. Looked like it possibly a burl. What it turned out to be is a gall, I do believe, instead of a burl, but it was solid. Solid wood, had a good bit of bark. You see the live center there in the bark, and some of the wood poking through where I've just touched the edge of it. But it's going to be a lovely piece of turning. That little bit of bark against the live center is going to come back and bite me. You'll see that here in just a little while. But what we're doing here is just, what I decided to do was turn a wing bowl, let this burl, gall, whatever it is, be the bowl of it, and then the rest of the limb would be the wings. And so this is just a slow process, taking it down, getting it to the place where I can, it's so out of balance, I couldn't turn it very fast. And so just turning it slow, working the balance so that I can speed it up, which will make turning those wings a good bit easier. Those wings will still flex after a while, and there'll be a good bit of sanding that has to be done. But in the meantime, we're just having a good time enjoying the process of turning this piece of wood. There's some beautiful color in that lower, what will be the bowl section of it. Right now, some of that will go away because it's primarily bark, but this is still a very pretty wood, very enjoyable to turn very nicely. You really can't see the colors so much in the wood. You can see some variation, but there is some color here. You'll see it later when I start getting some finish on it, and it'll look quite good. We've gotten the back side done, or the bottom side done. We've turned it around now. It's on a small tenon, and I'm just starting on the very ends of the wings. You may have noticed there was a ball on one end, and I was going to try to save some of that. It just did not work out. Just couldn't do it. The where it was placed and everything, I couldn't save it. So didn't worry about it too much. Didn't worry about what bark was there. Sometimes when I do these, I try to make sure I save the bark, but this time I wasn't concerned about saving bark. I knew this piece was going to have enough interest without the bark. You saw it fly off, and what I was going to tell you a while ago, and you just saw the result. The biggest part of my tenon, which was maybe 1/8 of an inch, the biggest part of that was bark, and so it just simply let loose. And so I took it over to the disc sander, sanded the bottom flat, and now you see my cherry glue block that I use for plates. Centered it up as best I could and glued it on with CA glue, medium CA glue. And as you'll see, it held all the way through. I had no problems whatsoever. But we've worked down the sides, worked down the wings to the bowl. We've started the bowl. Here I'm getting that transition between wing and bowl. That took me a few minutes. Very light passes. I do have the speed turned up a bit here. We're turning about 1,000 RPMs, and it does have a bit of a propeller sound, so nothing to worry about. But it was a lot of fun. Like I said, this wood turned very, very nicely. Very light cut there, just taking my time, getting the transition between the wing and the bowl. Got that taken care of. Now we've pulled out the Easy Wood Tools #1 hollower to do the biggest part of the hollowing of the bowl itself. It's not a big bowl, it's not real deep, but I just felt like I could keep my hands back out of the way of those wings a little easier if I used the #1 hollower. And it works beautifully. Decided at one point my cutter was getting a little dull, so I did stop and got my little Allen wrench out, and I loosened it, turned my bit around halfway, and it did do a little better. That side had already been used, but it did turn better. I'll be replacing that cutter now. Just about got it done. And I do stop quite often, see where I'm at, feel with my fingers how even my walls are, all of those kinds of things. In fact, at one time I thought I was done and stopped and felt it, and I was good on the sides, but my bottom was a bit thick, so I kept turning and finished off, got it thinned out a bit. We've finished turning now, and so the sanding process begins. And this is just a slow and tedious process. You see the lathe is stopped there, so I don't have that mechanical advantage. But I do have my drill. This is my sanding drill that I use all the time. Worked brilliantly. I sanded from 80 to 220, like I always do. Got any ripples, any ridges, all those kinds of things that were left out without any problem. Did this inside and out, like I said, from 80 all the way to 220 without any problem. 80, 120, 180, 220. And it worked extremely well, extremely well. I was really happy with the final result. Here you see the wing. On one side, I worked on the one wing, and then I turned around, worked on the other wing separately, then the center. Did that for all 4 grits. Same thing on the outside. Worked on one wing, spin it around, work on the other wing, and then worked on the outside of the bowl that I could get to. Done all that. Now I've put the sanding mandrel in the lathe so I can hold the bowl with both hands to get the very bottom. I want to get it just as nice as the rest of the bowl. So again, 80 to 220 before we ever think about doing any finish. Really like this method so I can use 2 hands to control what's going on. Next step will be coming up here in just a second, where I get that big clear bottle and spray that liquid on there. Nothing but some alcohol. After sanding, I will take my air hose and I'll blow the dust out of it as best I can. I took just a minute and blew it out really well. Then spray with the alcohol and wipe it down. And I don't know if you'll see on the video or not, but it pulled a good bit of dust out of that wood, even though I had blown it out. It always does. Sanding the bottom had left a little edge around the perimeters. I just wanted to soften that a bit. There's the alcohol. Use an old window cleaner bottle. Works really well. Um, Pour my alcohol in there and I can just spray it on. I can either spray it on the towel or directly on the wood itself. It doesn't matter. In this case, I sprayed it on the wood and then was able to come back and wipe it down, get that dust out of the pores. And it worked extremely well for what I was after. You can see it just a little bit there, but we'll get a better view. And there's the walnut oil going on. That's all that ever goes in this bottle is walnut oil. I've gone through several bottles of walnut oil, pouring them into this one. This one's got a little better pour spout, seals off a little better than some of the others that it comes in. And so that's why I use this one. But I just drizzled it on there and just used my hands, just kind of rub it in for a few moments. When I feel like I've rubbed it enough, I'll get a couple paper towels and I'll wipe my hands off, and then I'll wipe the excess off the bowl as well. We're getting pretty close to the end. I'm not going to show you a whole lot more, but let me just remind you, if you'll do me the great favor and hit that like button on your way out. Also, if you're not a subscriber, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything, and that way YouTube will let you know every time I put a video or I'm going live. Either way, YouTube will alert you, and you don't have to miss anything unless you just want to. If you don't want to watch, that's fine. But if you would do that for me, those two things, the like button, the subscribe button, help me as much as anything you can possibly do. The only other thing you might do would be to share this video out with all your friends. Again, doesn't cost you anything, doesn't cost them anything. If they want to, they can watch, and if they enjoy it, they can subscribe as well. If they don't enjoy it, if this isn't up their alley, that's okay too. Everybody doesn't enjoy turning. Some people love the work, but they don't, or the results, but they don't care to watch it. And I understand that. I happen to be a turner who loves to watch turning, so I'm subscribed to a lot of channels. But whatever your desire, if you could help me out with the like and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. Be sure to stick around for the stills. They show this piece with a couple of coats of oil, and it'll get a couple more before it's finished. But in the meantime, I hope you're able to spin them around. This is Doug. You have a great day.